Katrina's letter yesterday. It was addressed to Wilmington, Delaware, and I had moved twice since then. People move around so much nowadays, and it's funny how those crossed-off addresses and change of address stickers can look like accusations. I've been awake all night with Katrina's letter. She could have put it on a postcard. There was only one sentence below the "Dear Larry," but a sentence can mean enough. It can do enough. It's no secret that life has a tendency to be pretty hectic. Oftentimes we get so caught up in the hustle and bustle of everyday life that we don't check up on the ones we love. We just tell ourselves, "I'll do it tomorrow." If we wait too long though, time eventually runs out, and tomorrow becomes never. Larry learns this the hard way when he gets a letter from his sister Katrina 9 days too late. The Last Run on the Ladder by Stephen King, from Night Shift. I guess you could say we grew up in the Hicks. Nowadays, I'm one of the best independent corporation lawyers in America, so they tell me, and I'd have to admit, for the sake of honesty, that I think they're right. And Katrina? It's her I want to tell you about. It happened one Saturday in early November. Dad left me a list of chores to do and told us not to get to playing until they were done, but that wasn't long. I remember that day very clearly. The sky was overcast, and while it wasn't cold, you could feel it wanting to be cold. On a day like that, the only really nice place to play was the barn. There was a ladder nailed to a crossbeam high up in the third loft, a ladder that went straight down to the main barn floor. We were forbidden to climb on it because it was old and shaky. Dad had promised Mom 1,000 times that he would pull it down and put up a stronger one, but something else always seemed to come up. If you climbed up that rickety ladder, you ended up on a beam that was 70 feet above the straw-littered barn floor. And then if you edged out along the beam about 12 feet, you could jump off the beam and fall straight down with a horrible, hilarious dying swoop into a pile of lush, soft hay. It was a forbidden sport, all right. If we had been caught, my father would have laid on the strap, because if you happened to lose your balance and topple from the beam before you had edged out over the loose fathoms of hay, you would fall to utter destruction on the hard planking of the barn floor. But the temptation was too great. I was 10 that year and thin, about 90 pounds. Kitty was 8 and 20 pounds lighter. The ladder had always held us before, and we thought it would always hold us again, which is a philosophy that gets men and nations in trouble time after time. She was halfway up the ladder by then, and I remember thinking that I didn't like the way the ladder was swaying back and forth. It seemed like it had never been so loosey-goosey. Kitty? But that sentence never got finished, because that was when the ladder let go. It went with a rotted, splintering crack. I cried out and Kitty screamed. She was about where I had been when I had become convinced I'd pressed my luck too far. I knew it had to be done. I saw right away. "Kitty!" I bawled up at her. "Just hold still! Hold still!" She obeyed me instantly. Her legs stopped kicking and she hung straight down, her small hands clutching the last rung on the ragged end of the ladder like an acrobat whose trapeze had stopped. I ran to the hayrow, clutched up a double handful of the stuff, ran back and dropped it. I went back again and again. The haystack was as high as my chin now, but the hayrow that we had been diving into was 25 feet deep. I thought that if she only broke her legs, it would be getting off cheap. And I knew if she had missed the hay altogether, she would be killed. "Larry, the run! It's letting go!" I could hear the steady, rasping cry of the run pulling free under her weight. Her legs began to kick again in panic, but if she was thrashing like that, she would surely miss the hay. "No!" I yelled. "No, stop that! Just let go! Let go, Kitty!" Because it was too late to go back and get any more hay. Too late for anything except blind hope. She let go and dropped the second I told her to. She came straight down like a knife. It seemed to me that she dropped forever, her golden pigtail standing straight up from her head, her eyes shut. She didn't scream. Her hands were locked in front of her hips as if she was praying. And then she struck the hay right in the center. She went down out of sight in it. Hay flew up all around as if a shell had struck, and I heard the thump of her body hitting the boards. The sound, the loud thud, sent a deadly chill into me. It had been too loud, but I had to see. "Kitty?" I picked her up out of the hay and hugged her. She put her arms around me and hugged me back. She had broken her left ankle, and that was all. They had let me in to see her just before bedtime. Her foot, all wrapped up, was propped on a board. She looked at me so long and so lovingly that I felt uncomfortable. She then said, "Hey, you put down hay." "Of course I did," I blurted. "What else would I do? Once the ladder broke, there was no way to get up there." "I didn't know what you were doing." "You must have. I was right under you, for Christ's sake." "I didn't dare look down," she said. "I was too scared. I had my eyes shut the whole time." I stared at her, thunderstruck. "You didn't know?" She shook her head. "And when I told you to let go, you just did it?" She looked at me with those deep blue eyes. "I knew you must have been doing something to fix it. You're my big brother. I knew you'd always take care of me." It was the end, but somehow not the end. Somehow it never ended until 9 days ago, when Kitty jumped from the top story of an insurance building in Los Angeles. I have the clip-in from the LA Times in my wallet. I guess I'll always carry it. Not in the way you carry snapshots of people you want to remember. I carry that clip-in the way you carry something heavy, because carrying it is your work. The headline reads, "Cargo Swan dives to her death." We grew up. That's all I know. She was going to go to business college in Omaha, but in the summer after she graduated from high school, she won a beauty contest and married one of the judges. Sounds like a dirty joke, doesn't it? My Kitty. While I was in law school, she got divorced and wrote me a long letter, 10 pages or more, telling me how it had been, how messy it had been. She asked me if I could come, but losing a week in law school is like losing a term in liberal arts undergraduate. She moved out to LA and got married again. When that one broke up, I was out of law school. There was another letter, a shorter one, more bitter. She was never going to get stuck on that merry-go-round, she told me. "P.S. Larry, can you come? It's been a while." I wrote back and told her I'd love to come, but I couldn't. I had landed a job in a high-pressure firm, low guy on the totem pole. All of the work, none of the credit. That was my long letter, and it was all about my career. She was the one who stopped writing. I'd get Christmas cards, birthday cards, and my wife would reciprocate. Then we got divorced, and I moved, and I just forgot. The next Christmas and birthday after, the cards came through the forwarding address, the first one. And I kept thinking, gee, I've got to write Kitty and tell her that I moved. But I never did. But as I've told you, those things don't matter. The only things that matter are that we grew up and she swan from that insurance building and that Kitty was the one who always believed the hay would be there. Those things matter. And Kitty's letter. People move around so much now, and it's funny how those crossed off addresses and change of address stickers can look like accusations. The letter was postmarked 2 weeks before she died. It would have gone to me a long time before if not for the forwarding addresses. She must have got tired of waiting. Dear Larry, I've been thinking about it a lot lately. And what I've decided is that it would have been better for me if the last one had broken before you could put the hay down. Your Kitty. Yes. I guess she must have got tired of waiting. I'd rather believe that than think of her deciding that I must have forgotten. I wouldn't want her to think that, because that one sentence was maybe the only thing that would have brought me on the run. But not even that is the reason sleep comes so hard now. I close my eyes and start to drift off. I see her coming down from the third loft, her eyes wide and dark blue, her body arched, her arms swept behind her. She was the one who always knew the hay would be there.